You know how we're always describing the world in pairs? Good versus evil, light versus dark, order and chaos. Well, that's the concept of duality, and it's a super powerful tool for making sense of things. But here's the thing. What if that very tool, our way of seeing, is also the source of a huge and really common mistake? So yeah, let's dig into that idea, the powerful and sometimes totally misleading maps we use to understand the world. Okay, let's start with something super simple. Day and night. I mean, you can't get more basic than that, right? They're total opposites, but you literally can't have one without the other. They actually define each other. This is the perfect starting point for what we're about to get into. All right, so let's get into it. What is duality, really? It seems pretty straightforward on the surface, but trust me, the implications go way deeper. So if you want to get technical about it, especially in fields like mathematics, duality is just a word for when you have two things that are either opposites or kind of similar, but they exist together. It's basically a framework for us to categorize stuff, to create some order out of all the complexity by just splitting it in two. But honestly, a much cooler way to think about it is this. Duality isn't just about sticking labels on things. It's a powerful tool that lets you completely change your point of view. It allows you to look at the exact same thing from two different and often complementary angles. And listen, this isn't just some abstract philosophical thing we're talking about. In science, duality is a very real, very practical tool that physicists use to describe the actual fabric of reality. Here's how it works. A physicist observes something happening out in the universe. Then, and this is the wild part, they come up with two completely different sets of mathematical equations that both perfectly describe that phenomenon. The real magic, though, is that these two descriptions can be translated, one into the other. It's kind of like having two different maps in two different languages that both give you perfect directions to the exact same place. A super famous example of this is something called the, wait for it, anti-de Sitter/conformal field theory duality. Yeah, I know, it's a mouthful, but don't worry, we are not going to get lost in the weeds on that. The only thing you need to know is that it proves how two radically different mathematical frameworks can describe the same underlying physical reality. It's just a testament to how powerful this tool really is. But this is where things get really interesting. This ability to create different descriptions forces us to make a crucial distinction, the one between the description itself and the actual reality it's trying to explain. So you got to ask the question, right? If physicists have two perfectly valid ways of describing something, two perfect maps, does that mean the territory itself has this dual nature? I mean, is the universe fundamentally split right down the middle? And the answer is a hard no. Absolutely not. The duality exists only in our description, in our math, in our language. It's a useful tool, sure, a way of looking. But reality itself, reality isn't dual. It doesn't have opposing sides. It simply is. This is so important. Let's just let it sink in with a direct quote from our source material. Reality just is, regardless of us looking at it or describing or understanding it. Our models, our words, our dualities, they are just our attempts to get a handle on it. They aren't the thing itself. And when we fail to see that distinction, that huge gap between our tool and the truth, well, that leads us to what our source calls a dangerous mistake. And here is the core warning. To claim that nature itself is dual simply because we have two descriptions of it, that is a fundamental error. It's just like looking at a map of a river, pointing to the blue line and insisting that the river itself is made of paper and ink. You're mistaking the tool for the reality. So this is the simple but incredibly profound truth at the heart of all this. Our descriptions are not reality. Our maps are not the territory. They can be useful, powerful, even beautiful, but they are never, ever the thing itself. And that leaves us with a final thought to chew on. This idea goes so far beyond physics. You know, in our politics, in our beliefs, in our day-to-day lives, how often are we fighting over the maps we've drawn? How many other maps do we mistake for the territory?